Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here today with Michelle White, the president of Today Living Group and board member of CHPA, Corporate Housing Providers Association. Michelle White, how are you doing today?
Wonderful, wonderful. How about you, Ben?
I'm awesome. I'm fantastic. I'm super stoked. I'm getting ready mentally. I'm getting my wardrobe ready to go down to sunny Tampa to be at my first ever CHPA meeting. I'm so stoked about this, Michelle.
And you should be. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm telling you, the people, uh, you get more done in 2.5 days there than sometimes 6 months you can do outside of the event. I am looking so forward to it. You're going to have a blast.
Okay, what is your okay, we're gonna hop into this. First, I'm gonna welcome everybody to the program. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for putting up with my worsening light situation over here. Hopefully you can all hear me loud and clear. That's all that matters. Come on in, let me know who you are, where you are, throw it in the comments, give your company a shout out. Let me know if you've been to CHPA before. What do I have to look forward to? We're going to talk about corporate housing today. We're going to talk about the CHPA conference. We're going to talk about, we got a special overrated, underrated pertaining to corporate housing. So get active in there. Let's see who we've got coming in, Michelle. What do you say?
Okay.
We've got Lynn Greenberg, founder of Pivot. Hi, all from New York. Nice. All right.
Hi, neighbor.
We got Jamie Master. Hello, Ben and Michelle. Cheers from Chile, Mississippi. Michelle is brilliant. Looking forward to this show. Can't wait for CHPA 2. Jamie, I can't wait. Am I going to see you down there in Tampa? And if so, what do I have to look forward to? Jamie, put it in the comments. Let's see. Stacy Huff. Hi, Ben and Michelle. Looking forward to hearing from Michelle today. Super producer Stacy. Awesome. It's good to see you. Christian Hall. Hello from Idaho. Nice. Look at this. This is good. We're getting some good representation here. We got Idaho. We've got Mississippi, we've got Pittsburgh, we've got New York. Tim Quirk from Western New York. Feels warm now that Toronto's in the house. We love our neighbors to the north.
Thanks, Tim.
Fantastic. Richard Majewski. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Ben. What a great show and class act this will be.
Aw.
Oh, this is fun. This is great. We've actually got a question. Richard, this question's for you. We've got an audience question today. Stacey, we got that audience question. I want every single person in the audience to participate. Laura, that means you. She's checking in from CHPA. Mary Ellen Tratina, that means you as well. Expat Relocation Help from Chicago. Jana Shazanowski, Team Glomo in the house from Rio de Janeiro. We've got 3 continents so far. Wow. Everybody, I want you to participate right now. Super simple question. No wrong answers. What do you call our industry? Is it temp living? Is it corporate housing? Is it serviced accommodations? Is it something else? Michelle, are there other terms I'm missing? What do you call it?
Well, corporate housing is what we usually refer to it. A Tampa Com, I know that over the pond, service departments is more the terminology they're using. And I think that's one of the things we're trying to define right now in CHPA, and that is on a global scale, what do you call ourselves? When you're in an elevator and you've got 10 floors and someone says, hey, what do you do for a living? And they ask you what field you're in, and you say Tampa Com, or if you say corporate housing, do you get that glazed over look? What is it? So that's a great question to ask everyone.
Yes, please put your favorite. And Lynn Ripley, you can't say all of those. Pick one. What is your favorite? You get one. You get a 15-second elevator pitch. You're seeing family for Thanksgiving, and they say, "Oh, what do you do, Lynn? What do you say?" I got to know. I want to know everybody's take on this. Bill Mahalan, our good friend down there in Puerto Rico, they say temp housing.
Okay.
All right. Mary Ellen says crazy. That's what she calls it. Just kidding, Mary Ellen. Christian says temp living, internal, corporate housing for those in the know. Okay. Richard Majewski saying furnished apartments. All right. Lynn saying corporate housing, but depends on who you're talking to. Mm-hmm. Lynn, what does that mean? Like how would you change it and for whom? I'd love to know. Mary Ellen says international relocation. Look at this. Lynn's laughing. This is great. Jamie saying corporate housing. Tim saying short-term rental. I've never called in. So Tim's kind of an outsider. So an outsider lay person's kind of point of view. What do you call it? I think it's a legit question, and you're saying that this is something that CHPA is kind of wrestling with now. How so?
Well, I mean, this very question, everyone has been debating and talking about for a long period of time. So, I mean, within our circles, we call it corporate housing. But what do you do when you go to ERC? What do you do when you go to see a new client? I mean, what do you do outside of the bubble of, let's say, corporate housing providers? How do you get recognition? That industry awareness. What is it? We are an incredible, important sector of the housing sector. So, are we short term as in hotel? No. Are we an extended stay hotel? No, we're not. Are we, you're renting something for a year and putting furniture in it in a relo? No, we're not. We're that hybrid in between. So what are we? And that's the $1 million question. It would be great if there was not just a national, but a global term that would refer to our sector in the industry.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Richard's saying things corporate housing is a bit confusing when considering in the UK, for example, contractor market is very significant. Interesting. Bob Portale says, I was told it is temp housing because it's hard to live temporarily. Yes, touche. Laura, I like this one. Fully furnished temp housing. And I like it because if you're talking to someone who's outside the industry, I think it explains to a layperson what they're buying, what they're getting into. I think it doesn't necessarily speak to why would somebody, whereas corporate housing speaks to, okay, what is the event? Okay, I'm working at a company and I need to be somewhere on a short-term basis. It's super interesting. It's fascinating from a marketing standpoint. And as CHPA, thinks about how do we market ourselves to the world, right? And I think that there's an enormous opportunity for temp housing or corporate housing outside of the corporate space, which we can talk about as well. Does that morph? Let's pause that question just for a second. Bill Mulholland's got a question. I'm not sure if you know the answer to this. Maybe you want to give a shout out. He says, question, are there any corporate housing members or CHPA members in Puerto Rico? We struggle to find options for our clients in Puerto Rico.
Well, there's a really good question. I can get back to you on that. I do know, though, that when you go to the CHPA events, i.e. the conference, which is our big, that's our big event every year, I have often seen people from other countries. And yes, Puerto Rico is one of them. I don't have the member list in front of me, so I don't know right now who to refer you to. But yes, we have members from all over the globe, everywhere, obviously the UK, Europe, Australia, Puerto Rico, absolutely. Members are everywhere and they do come to the conference. So this isn't just a US, it's always a US based event, but there's people that come on a global scale to the event.
So Bill can consult the CHPA directory for that information.
Absolutely. Or send me a message and I'll be able to put you in touch with who you need to be in touch with.
Super. That's awesome. That's great. Lastly here, Richard says, it gets really detailed. UK service apartments, example in India, service apartments, no D. Interesting. All right. So we're going to talk about the opportunity for the industry, but first let's talk about the opportunity for me. Okay. It's my first CHPA event. What do I have to look forward to? Give me a taste here. And for anybody out there who hasn't been to a CHPA conference, or if you have been, put it in your comments, your experiences, or anything I must do or must see, or anyone I must talk to. But Michelle, what do I have to look forward to?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, make a list of who you want to see and what you want to do, because everyone's all under one roof, all at the same time. So you can do 6 months, maybe 7 months worth of networking in 2 days. It is invaluable to be there. So the networking, obviously, a lot of us go for that, but this year's CHPA is going to be it's changing from what it used to be into what it is now. They have changed the schedules because they realize that it's not just the education and the information, but it's also the networking component. And this year, they've actually married the two together. So they have incredible events. I find they're very relevant. They are interactive. And there's also some space and some times in between so that we can get back together with some people that we want to connect with, maybe for, some new business. So it's not as if you can do one or the other. This year you can do both, and it's exciting. You should see the lineup this year. It's amazing. You are going to be busy from morning, I guarantee, until the night, and you sleep when you get home. How does that sound?
I was gonna say, what time is night? Until the night. I heard that the CHPA group tends to be a pretty lively, festive group. Is that true?
Oh yes, yes. And some countries have more of a reputation than others. That's all we'll say.
Oh gosh, I love it. There's a little teaser there. This is great here. Laura is saying, and everybody out there, hit that like button right now. That lets everybody know that we're on right now, and also send a little heart out there to Toronto, to our friend Michelle here who's with us today. Laura says, newcomers networking event on day one if you're a newbie. I am a newbie. Is day one Saturday or Sunday this year?
Sunday is actually the first day. And there's at 1:00 is actually when you need to go, because that's when everybody new arrives. And there's kind of like it's a, hi, how are you? And register. Everybody can register. So Sunday is when it actually starts. So there's a workshop at 1:00 on Sunday. And it's, it starts right away with a great speaker, Leah Brown, and it's how to keep employees longer, but she's very animated. You're going to love it. She's very good. And then at 3:00, there's an opening session, and that's a really powerful. It's going to be a very, very powerful, enlightened session, which is great. And that all happens on Sunday. And then at 4:00 onwards is it's our expo hall. So all of the vendors are going to be there. You get to interact with them. A lot of the large providers have booths there. So it's the time when you can actually connect with them face to face rather than trying to chase somebody in a hallway. Everybody is there in one place and they want to see you. So it's an environment for, this is the time where we need to, connect, meet each other. It's so powerful. And you know what? There's often there's services that are provided that us as individual owners may not have even been aware of, that'll help us operate our businesses, in a better way. Perhaps there's a new way of doing something. And this is the opportunity and the place where you can see it, feel it, touch it, and learn about it. It's great.
I love it. And I agree with Jana here. Loving Michelle White energy, including CHPA, is on my to-do list. Who is the audience? Who needs to go to CHPA? Because it sounds like there's something for everybody.
There is. And it's not just members of CHPA that attend. There's vendors, there's people who are, obviously it's predominantly members, but really there is non-members. There's anyone that has anything to do with the relocation industry, whether you're a vendor, a supplier, really that's where you need to be, because we're all in one area. We're all together. And like I said, it is so powerful. Instead of having to make separate appointments all over, I mean, normally pre-pandemic, I was always on a plane. I was always going to meet people eyeball to eyeball, and that's how I like to do business. Well, Here I've got everybody under one roof. I mean, it's just a natural. This is where you want to be.
So here, Bill Mulholland is, and Bill, you're going to get so much mail, and I love it. I can't wait. Bill owns an RMC, ARC, American Relocation Connection. Shout out to Bill Mulholland and the good people at ARC. And he's looking for folks with bricks and mortar in Puerto Rico. So do you see RMCs attending, and does it make sense for RMCs and corporate clients to attend CHPA?
Well, there's everyone that attends every year. That just when I think I've got it all figured out, there is a new group that attends. And like I said, anything associated with corporate housing, this is where you need to be. And it's not just the connections you're going to make; it's also the information, because they're bringing in. There's new speakers. And there's different genres, and there's people from the corporate sector that are coming that really they've never really been part of our industry before. So they're there so that we can, chat with them tell us their perspective that we may not have seen. I mean, let's face it, in your own industry, we all think we know all the answers and the questions. But instead of us asking each other, why don't we ask the people who are using it? And why don't we start asking beyond, what is it you need to see? What are the pitfalls? Where can we do better?
That. I love that. And, it's interesting because this topic has come up on the show before. And shout out to Jack Jampel, because he's one of the people that brought it up. But a lot of corporate folks brought it up. And one of the things that they said was, they get really nice updates from the realtors through RDC. and they kind of like, okay, Denver's, housing market's up 10% and Chicago's down and whatever's going on. And here's the trends we see and everything. And one of the things that I heard, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how, as an industry and everything, we can kind of do a better job with this, maybe, or maybe where they can go look for this kind of information. But as things about the supply chain started to come out, right? We can't get enough furniture, or we can't find enough, units of a certain type or whatever. Things were kind of coming out, and they were coming out from all these entities and everything. And I think that one of the pieces of feedback I heard from the corporations out there, the corporate clients, was that they would love to see kind of a big view of what's happening in the U.S. and other markets, and kind of hear like an aggregated, unified voice on these things, and maybe even have some sort of empirical data that they could point to and reference, kind of like, I think the National Association of Realtors, puts out some really good stuff. Obviously much bigger, thing we're talking about there. But what are your thoughts on the kinds of data that we produce today, and maybe the kinds of data and the opportunity for the future?
Okay, we've analytics is something that we've been using and going back and forth with over the years, and we've been using different companies to pull all that together. And that's one of the questions. That's one of the things we're reviewing again, and we're trying to do it not just in major cities, but all over. Where I think some of the pitfall has been with corporate housing is some cities may have 10 or 15 providers. Great, as long as everyone provides that information, you get a great cross section of what the market really is.
Right.
But when you get some cities that only have perhaps 2 or 3 or 4 major providers or less, it's kind of hard because the numbers get quite skewed. So someone may have, you may ask for 3 bedrooms, but only one of those providers has, let's say, larger properties, houses, and 3 bedrooms.
Right.
The numbers are skewed. So this is the kind of dialogue we've had back and forth. Corporate housing is a very large industry, and it is a growing industry. So there is some analytics available, but really, that's something that we do for our clients when they ask us, in this city, what are the prices? And we come up with those analytics. There is some through CHPA, but it's in front of the board. We are looking at it. There is some right now, but it is U.S. centered. So yes.
So like San Juan, Puerto Rico might be a challenging market to get a good sample size of data points from, right? For instance.
Yeah, any city, not just country, but any city. You really do need to have, if you have 5, that's great. At least 3 in a market, so that you start to get a decent numbers. But you see, you want to go deeper than just, what are the rates and what are the sizes. You want to start looking at other things, to your point earlier, of supply chain. I know here in Toronto, I know in Vancouver on the West Coast, our prices for rentals have gone skyrocket because the real estate value, it's gone up almost 30%, depending on the housing sector, over the last 3 years. So what you were renting at $2,000 a month for a little 500 square foot suite is now $2,500 or maybe $2,600 a month, plus furniture, plus utilities, plus everything else. So, the supply chain costs here are very high. I know in Vancouver, they're even higher. So you really have to know your market. And what you were getting 5 years ago in prices, don't expect it now. And if you do, ask the question, why am I getting at that price? Because what are they doing? What are they not giving you? Or are you having broken IKEA furniture? Sorry to anybody that uses IKEA out there, but do you know what I mean? Like you cannot service an apartment and ask for $3,000 a month if it costs you $2,500 without the furniture in it. So you have to kind of, it's good to do those numbers. It's good to do the digging. You really do need to find out, what your market is like, and then you'll know what your expectations are and where is a realistic expectation.
I love it. This is great insight. I want to encourage everybody out there who's watching. So we got some really smart people out there. Hit that like button. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. Also, I want to hear your comments, your thoughts, your questions for Michelle, for myself. What are your thoughts about corporate housing, about CHPA? I'd love to hear what you think. Throw it in the comments for me. Thank you so much. We will make sure we get to all of them. Lynn Ripley says, I think CHPA has done. And by the way, can I say CHPA or is it CHPA? Do I sound like a newbie?
Both.
Is it okay? Okay. I always heard
CHPA,
and I'm like, I'm just going with it. I'm just going.
Yeah, CHPA is good. CHPA is good.
All right. All right, cool. Thanks. Lynn Ripley says, I think CHPA had done a better job at sharing trends this year. One challenge is making sure that we all using the info to educate our clients. Great point, Lynn. What do you think about Lynn's point there?
I think it's great. It's great. And that's one of the focuses that the group and the board is focusing on. And that is getting information out, but relevant information, not stale that somebody's tweaked a little bit and moving it on. We are making everything fresh. COVID has shaken up the industry, not just for the obvious, but really the changes that have happened. So you have to look at not just, what happened here, but really the industry has changed. I mean, some people are of the school that, portals are the way to go. There's just aggregators where everything is just, a certain price and you're competing with price. And then there's also another focus right now where they're like, no, we're more service focused. And where's the industry going to go? I've been in this business for, with Today Living Group, 17 years but I've been in the industry more than 2 decades. And I've noticed cycles. We all used to deal directly with our large corporate clients way back when. And then, the relocation companies, that seemed to be the trend. Everybody was getting, contracts that way. And now I find the pendulum is starting to switch back just a little bit more. Is it because perhaps it takes 3 days by the time it goes through the layers to get the proper information? Is it, there's 2 schools of thought, 3 actually on this one. So it's interesting to see where it's going to go. But going back to information, it's getting information to everyone as they need it, as it happens, and also being able to answer those questions. And that's what CHPA is doing a really good job at, and that is reacting to the needs that are out there. And we have to pivot very quickly lately because things are changing so darn fast, but they're doing a great job. And the new board that's every year, of course, we have new people that are elected to the board, and we've got some new fresh faces, which I think is amazing because you get new ideas, fresh ideas, and you get that bantering back and forth. And that's what's so cool. What I really love about CHPA is, the membership is over 70% of the membership are smaller 1 or 2 market companies. And you get to sit in the room with companies who are over 100 million. And you chat back and forth about what's important, argue, chat, whatever you want to call it. The whole thing is information, and each listens to the other. We all learn something off everyone else. So it's not just the large companies who are saying, this is how we want to do it. They have a huge voice, obviously, but everyone does. That's the part. Every single member in CHPA, whether you're a vendor, a supplier, any member, you have a say, you have a voice, and it's heard. And that's what's so cool about CHPA.
Wow, that's cool. And I love the dynamic you described there where you have, 1 and 2 market companies in a room with $100 million companies. And
yes,
it's interesting that sounds like a really neat dynamic.
It is. Just think these large, $100 million companies, they're going to us in the smaller markets. So they may not have, let's say, units in Canada. So if they want, properties in a certain city, they would go to a vendor or vendors in that particular city. And in our case, a lot of people don't want to open up in another country or aren't at this particular moment. So they have to reach out to us. So it's, it's important. We help each other, but by understanding each market, and understanding the pitfalls and the challenges we all have, it helps all of us sell our product better.
You bring up some good points about the different sizes of companies, and one of the things that I was kind of that I've been realizing is that there's a lot of different models within this space, a lot of business models. Huge. And you're thinking, okay, well, how does a 1 and 2 market company sit in the same room and have that much in common with a $100 million plus company? And, my first thought is, well, is that $100 million company, is that an agency model versus a provider model like that 1 and 2? And maybe can you talk about a little bit about the different models for the people that just don't understand? Maybe they're not from the corporate housing industry, or maybe they're an RMC, or maybe they don't know the difference. Can you just help us understand a little bit about the different business models in the space?
Absolutely. Way back when, everyone used to try to have, a foothold of bricks and mortar in every city. That isn't the case anymore. They may have a hold in 1, 2, or 3 markets, but they've realized now it's hard to be this. It's hard to keep consistency and that same level across the board in all markets. So unlike McDonald's that has this plan, to be the same everywhere, corporate housing doesn't work like that. Now, obviously, your level of cares and standards, yes, but one market has a certain expectation And other markets, it may be hard to get that level of standard. So if you are based in New York and you're going to perhaps something in the Midwest and you're expecting the same exact, you're not, because you have to understand and you have to know your market. So it's hard to make New York Midwest and Midwest New York. So sometimes it's better to leave the experts in that area and work through them and make sure, obviously, you know your company standards and go through there. Canada is a different animal, shall we say. Most of us don't have the luxury of apartment communities. So we can't just furnish up. Let's say we have a large, high season, April through October. We can't just go in, take X number of apartments, furnish them up, rent the furniture, and in October say, see you later and goodbye.
So you do. So this is interesting. I just want to unpack this for a second, double click into this for our US listeners here, because this was something that was new to me. I think Wendy Galati might have been the first person that told me about this. Okay. So you do have buildings where lots of people live in the building together.
Yes.
But they own the units versus like a condominium.
Exactly.
Versus one property owner owning the entire building and renting each unit with a leasing office. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. So picture this. I mean, if you meet a Canadian, for heaven's sake, shake their hand, because they're in it for real. And when the pandemic hit and our borders closed, oh my God, talk about difficult. So picture this. You have to negotiate with real estate agents and individual owners in a condominium, because they own this condominium, and you have to negotiate with each individual owner. You have to sign a long-term lease, minimum of 1 year. Some of us do longer, like 3 or 5 years. And then we buy the furniture. So, you can't just, furnish it up and then 6 months later pack it up and then move on.
Is that another thing that you don't have furniture rental companies as well?
Well, there really isn't a lot of furniture rental. There's a couple little ones, but the price is crazy. When we see other markets where there's more furniture providers, some of the prices are a bit better. And ours, unfortunately, there's a reason why we buy.
I love what you said. When you see a Canadian, shake their hand because they're in it for real. No, but when you make a point about dealing with individual owners and real estate agents on a per unit basis,
right,
and then having to buy your furniture and not rent it, you have a lot more skin in the game. You have a lot more friction in that supply and in providing that unit. Is there an upside to that model into having that adversity though? I mean, does it build a moat around competition? Does it mean that you're that much more tenacious and as a business operator that it's harder to replicate that? Because sometimes what I found from the moving industry, for instance, and other industries that I've been a part of, is that sometimes the things that we just keep us up at night are also the things that keep our competition out of our market.
Well, there's still competition that comes in all the time, but it's funny, a lot of them don't last, or they don't do things such as, when you own your own furniture, you can't just buy it in 19 and then expect it to look great in 2022. You need to keep it fresh. You need to keep it up. This is your name. This is your company on the line here. So, you need to, Canadians have a lot of skin in the game, and with closed borders, we have dug deep, and you either have to love this business or get out of this business. But here's the good part. Most people here, they're living it, breathing it, everything. We put everything into our suites and everything into every client that comes with us. So if anything, I won't say we care more, but we care a lot. That's what we do about all of our suites. And if you sit vacant for 6 months out of the year, you do the numbers. It's not good. When our borders closed, it was really tough because corporate housing dried up for a while until everybody kind of got their legs and figured out what was going on. But it was hard because most of our business does come from the US, from our company. A lot of it doesn't come within Canada. And we used to deal a lot with direct clients, and then we kind of went more to a lot of the relocation companies because, quite frankly, they kept us full. And then we had to shift gears, of course, and change back a wee bit because the borders were closed. So how do you pivot with that? So, we were fortunate enough that we were able to help with the pandemic in the first wave. We did housing for long-term care homes. And we also did all the interns at the major hospitals in our city of Toronto. So we actually filled our suites. We were actually calling our competition and going, "Hey, I need more suites. Can you help me?" So we were able to get through it like that. But I'm talking about having to pivot really fast when you've got rents to pay. furniture that you've purchased. And, you're not putting in $5,000 worth of furniture. You're putting in $15,000 to $20,000 worth of furniture. So I'm telling you, you get serious real fast, but you figure it out.
This is such a fascinating conversation. Hit that like button right now if you're enjoying this conversation. Throw your questions and comments into the chat there. I want to know what you're thinking out there. Christian is chiming in. I know no one supplier is brick and mortar in every location. Would be great to see some sort of partnership that leverages their specialty locations but refers out to other specialists when applicable. I think that this is what I hope for with an RMC managed vendor network, but it doesn't always work that way. I think some of that's impartially in response to Bill saying he's looking for bricks and mortar because it's such a tough market.
It is.
What is that? Yeah. What is that tug of war, about bricks and mortar versus being able to service, kind of everywhere, this kind of tug and war between providers and agents and the philosophies behind this?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is what you've done for forever and a day. And a lot of people are like, this is what I've done and this is how it is always done. And you know what? Things change. And here in Canada, it's always existed like this. There is a few providers that own their own buildings, but there's only a handful. The rest of us are in condominium communities. We don't, unfortunately, because of our political situation and tax advantages and that, building rental properties was really not an advantage several decades ago. So people stopped. So a lot of our rental properties are old. And you don't want to put corporate housing in those locations. Now, some of that is coming back on board, but really we exist in condominiums. But again, we're not, in, out. We are in for long periods of time. With us in our company, I know Wendy works the same. When we go into a condominium, in our case, we don't usually do one or two. We do, 6, 7, 8. So I'm negotiating these, large groups all at the same time. I may have over 50 units in a particular building as well. I get in and I talk to the board. So you get in, I invite them in our suites. I show them who we are, what we do. We have 24 hours emergency, not some call center off or overseas somewhere. You'll actually get a member of our team who knows the product, who knows the guests, who knows the rules of the building and knows the do's and don'ts. So you get a live person. So we do a lot of homework. So really, if anything, our teams here have more vested into it because we spend a lot of time.
Yeah, I can see that too in your passion and the way that you know your business. Hope Sierra, hello, my name is Hope Sierra with Sierra Temporary Lodging in San Antonio, Texas. Welcome, Hope. I hope you're having a good time. Richard also echoes the sentiment here. Richard's got a great question, and I want you to pontificate just for a moment. We got a ton of furniture rental here in the States. Why has no furniture rental company moved into Canada?
Well, I don't own a furniture rental company. I'll be honest, we did rent some furniture very early on. We have a certain standard and a look that we like. And this particular furniture rental company was happy to purchase that. But we found that, because we're not renting our suites for 1 year, we're in it for 5 years. You do the math.
So because you're taking it out for a lot longer term, the value proposition on renting versus owning just isn't quite as lucrative.
No, you just have to have the money up front in the layout, because you've got to put the money out. And we buy everything in US dollars. So that's, of course, a bit of a challenge because, traditionally, it's a 25 to 30% exchange that we lose when we purchase because when we're purchasing, if we're purchasing outside of Canada, often we have to purchase in US dollars. So that's also another consideration as well. I know in our company, we've decided that we're going to buy local. And we started this years ago where we buy, and when I say local, it's the North American market, obviously Canada first in our case, but we try to buy and support the North American economy wherever possible. And most of our product is North American.
Well, it sounds more sustainable from a ESG standpoint as well. I'm sure that's a selling point for your clients too.
It is. It's one of the, what we had done was we decided, obviously we're going to support each other. We're going to support local. We're all in this together. But I also find from, let's face it, if you buy something that's durable, it's going to last. It's going to stand up. You're going to have little to no guest services issues. It's a better quality product. It makes everybody look great. yeah, it's the right thing to do. It really is. And here's the other thing. Everything comes down to customer service. We want to make sure that everybody is happy. So here's an example. Let's say our sofas we buy from a supplier here in Toronto. They're made here. I call on a Monday, usually by Thursday. Outside of the pandemic, I can get something. It's that quick. Let's say somebody damages something. They've got red wine that all spilt all over the cushions. We've tried everything. We can't get it out. I have to then contact the company and say, I'm really sorry, but guess what? You just bought a new couch. How happy do you think they're going to be by getting that call? It was an accident, but that's a very expensive piece. But by buying local, I can then call up and say, okay, that 973 couch and charcoal, I need 2 cushions stat, and they send it to us right away. So it's little to no charge. It's what happens.
So you're buying 2
customer
cushions
service.
instead of a new couch.
Exactly.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
sure.
So by buying local, you've got faster customer service. There's little to no downtime, and your customers at the other end, you don't have to break it to them and go, "Hey, guess what you just bought?"
Yeah. Wow, that's you know what, that's great. You know, this I learned something every day. That's why I love doing the show. I learned something every day. Let's see who else we got chatting here. Let me know what you think. Hit that like button, throw it in the comments. I want to know your opinions, your questions, your comments. Jamie Massler, love my Canadian friends. Was saddened to hear that Chippa was not having the Canadian party. What is the Canadian party? Is it political or is it just all good times?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I have been doing the Canadian reception, shall we say. It started actually with it's another lady who's in the industry who's since retired, got an idea of, let's face it, everybody's always looking for a Canadian every time we go. And as Canadians, I don't know if you know it, love to have fun, a lot of fun. So that we found that, whenever we were getting together, the Canadians and going out for dinner, I had everybody who was non-Canadian joining us because we network, there's obviously, we never go to sleep. Okay. We're there. We stay up the whole time. We network, we laugh, the amount of information and business. It's a lot of fun. So we decided, okay, let's get together and have a party. Yeah. So every conference, it's always on the first night on the Monday, we have a Canadian reception, and the Canadians go in, they sponsor it. And we always bring wild things to the party. And we do something strange and weird every time. And I make sure that I bring in Canadian alcohol. We make sure we bring in Canadian food, and there's always a theme every year, and it's always a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun.
Laura says it's the best event at the conference, hands down.
It's great, and you never know what we're up to. We had some plans this year, but you know what? That COVID has really made it difficult. So a lot of Canadians can't come or have chosen not to come down because it's a bit difficult, like getting the PCR test before you go and coming back. Yeah, it's a bit difficult. So next year, but when you come, you've got to come to the Canadian reception. It is wonderful. And at first we had like 50 to 100, and now we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people in one area. We have to keep growing it. It's a great opportunity to meet everyone.
I want to go. I want to go. I want to go to the Canadian. Elizabeth Soley's going to be there. Hi, Ben and Michelle. Hey, Elizabeth. That's great. Maria's saying it's a ton of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maria, you never know what we're up to.
Maria, I hope to see you on is it Tuesday? I think I hope to see you Tuesday morning. You got to pop in. So I'm not sure if you know this, Michelle, but I'm actually broadcasting live. We're doing 2, not 1, but 2 Love and Relos live from Chippa. We're doing one on Monday at 4:30 Eastern. So a half hour later than we normally do them. And we're doing the second one at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, which I don't know what 9 a.m. looks like after a Chippa night, after the Canadian party. But we're gonna need some Canadian coffee, I think, that morning. But we're gonna have people popping in, and we're gonna be live from the expo hall, kind of giving you the download from the previous day. And I just can't wait to have people popping in. So if you're going to be there, and Elizabeth, I know you're going to be there, and I know Maria's going to be there. And if you're watching this right now and you're going to be there, please message me and we'll get you a slot and you can pop in. I know Nina Taylor's going to be there with us and a few people. So can't wait to have everybody live. This is so cool. Let's see here. We got some questions. We got any questions, comments coming in? Throw them in the chat. We've got Carlene Tisdale. Hi from Houston. Hey, Carlene. Good to see you.
So I have a question to ask the audience. How many have dealt with any providers or business outside of the U.S.? we're finding that the world is global and people are moving. And we find certain sectors, in particular, Canada, has become alive, shall we say, in areas that we didn't, business was that particular sector was something we weren't enjoying beforehand. And we're being sought out by companies and industries that we never thought of before. So just a question to the audience. Do you deal just in the US, or are you looking for 2022, 2023, more of a global perspective?
I love it. There you have it. Michelle's taking over here. She's hosting the show now. She wants to know, have you done business with a corporate housing partner outside of the US before? Throw it in the chat right now and see how many responses we can get. How many folks out there have done business outside the US? I know a few people. I know Jamie's an expert outside the US. I know Richard's sitting outside the US right now. Can't wait for those broadcasts. Please don't let me miss them. Richard, it's up to you, man. I can't teach you how to cut grass, man. You either show up for the things or you don't, That one's for you, Tim, backstage there. No, but the problem is it's always during Richard's dinner time, so he has important choices to make. And we always appreciate when Richard makes it happen. So let us know, have you done business with a corporate housing provider outside of the U.S.? Let us know your experiences. Let us know if you plan to do more of it going forward in 2022, 2023. Jamie Master says a lot moving internationally, especially APAC, Asia Pacific, and the Middle East. Elizabeth says we work in 180 countries. All right. Richard's saying Jamie's the global guy. Oh, Richard, he's got to you too, huh? All right. Lynn, we are focused on global while highlighting our core capabilities in the U.S. Mm-hmm. Very professional, Lynn. Lynn's my NTRP friend as well there. Texas in the house. Let's see here. While you guys answer that question, we've got a question for you, Michelle. I turn the tables back around. You're the guest again now. Richard says, from your experience perspective, Michelle, what changes do you anticipate on Canada in next 12 months and perhaps even in other markets? Any disruptors or new models, perhaps?
That's a really great question. I mean, during COVID, let's face it, it was pretty tough. And with borders closed, I mean, obviously it was a global problem. But here, remember, we've got a lot of skin in the game, a lot of risk. So a lot of providers downsized. So they let tons of product go. Some providers that had hundreds and hundreds are, half what they used to be as far as volume, but they needed to do that. And obviously that was good business. There was no, they didn't have any reservations for the better part of 18, 19 months. So it was self-preservation. So what we're finding now is this time of year in January, occupancies are normally here. Right now they're up here. Well, if they're this in January and it's slow season, what is it going to be in April? We found right now we've got requests, and we rarely got these. It was a bell ringer before when you got one of these. We're now getting companies that go, okay, we all know that there's going to be a shortage of supply. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to rent something long-term. We're going to rent the whole unit for 6 to 12 months. And we may, rotate out a client or two, one or two of our employees, but we know there's going to be a shortage. And we know because rental prices that used to be here are here, in order for us to acquire new product, it's going to cost more. So let's secure it now. And here's what we're going to do. So we're enjoying now what our occupancies are, but now we have that balancing act of how many more units do we bring on? What does the future look like? And we thought at first it was a bit of a bumpy road. We'd get a busy week and then not a busy week, and then a busy week and then not a busy week. But now it's been quite consistent. But for January numbers, they're very strong right now. So is that an indicator of what's coming? Everyone keeps telling us that look out, if a switch is going to be flipping and away you go. It is already flipped in Vancouver. They're full.
Wow.
So, there's going to be a shortage, and it's not phone Monday and move in Wednesday. You're lucky to get something next month. And because here we have to negotiate with owners individually with condominiums, it's not as if we can necessarily pick up product really quickly. At our company, we have an advantage because we have two sides to our company. We have an unfurnished side and we have a furnished side.
Oh.
So every time I have something come up unfurnished, we look at it on the furnished side to see, are we going to move it from one side to the other, or are we going to keep that in the unfurnished side? So we have a bit of flexibility. That our model is a little different than others, but we have that little, back pocket item.
Sure.
We've got hundreds of units that we can access if we need to.
Oh, wow. So that must make you a lot more responsive to
Yes.
inquiries.
Yes.
And as I'm seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing this too, over the last few years, lead time on requests has gone down tremendously. It seems like everybody wants something tomorrow. And I imagine that makes you quite competitive, relatively speaking.
It does. Here in Canada, though, it's a bit different. I mean, we've every day actually we get to, we'll get somebody who says, "Hi, I want to move in Thursday," because they got their visa and they want to get in fast. Or, ready for this, they got their negative test. They got to get on a plane now before they have to take another one because then it may be positive. Because every single week we get someone who's supposed to be coming tomorrow and they got the positive test, so now they're delayed. So that's the new reality, because between our borders, us going into the States, we have to get tested. You have to get tested coming in. International, anything international, it's the new reality. So how do you navigate through that? How do you do it? Do you just take a chance, book in advance? This is what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. Laura makes a comment here. She says property management and the condominiums prefer corporate housing companies versus Airbnb. Are you finding this?
Well, obviously, my love, of course, is what we do, property management. My background originally, way back when, was I was in property management. So I saw the renters, I saw the Airbnb. Well, Airbnb didn't exist, but there was a model similar to that was going on. And what corporate housing does is we care. We live in communities. We abide by the rules in those communities. We abide by the rules municipally, federally, provincially, or state where you are. There's a very big difference between someone who just says, "Okay, here's an unfurnished suite with furniture in it, rent it." That's not what corporate housing is. Corporate housing is whatever you need. If it's on, our motto here is, if it's honest and legal, we're on it. So we have an incredible apartment, and we do things in our companies. We do something called barrier-free design, where we put together all of our suites. And what that means is, picture somebody who's been, I don't know, traveling for 21 hours. They've been on several planes, jet lag, delays. They're tired. They arrive in a place. They want everything to be smooth. They want the check-in to be smooth. They want to get their keys easily.
Yeah.
They want to get into a suite where they're not banging into things. So let's say, shortly after they get there, they go to sleep. Partway through the night, their time zones are all mixed up, whatever. They get to go up to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and, they're banging into things and they get hurt.
This happens a lot for me in corporate housing, especially because I tend to like to tie one on the first night I get there. Like, all right, I'm here. Okay. And then I'm stubbing my toe. I'm nicking my shin. I don't know where I am. I fall. I don't know. Yes, this happens to me.
Yeah, no, I hear you 100%. So in corporate housing, you find a lot more detail. In other words, people are thinking about, maybe we shouldn't have that square edge so somebody can bash their shin into it. Maybe we should put a nightlight in the bathroom so there's always that glow in the background, or, in the hallway because it's a little dark. We know you're going to be tired. We know you're disoriented when you first get there. So how do we make we never want you to know everything we did to make your stay perfect. And that's what corporate housing is about, not just an empty suite with some furniture in it at a good rate.
I love it. Okay, I have a question. I have one question, then we're going to get into some fun stuff here. What advice would you give to someone getting into the corporate housing business?
In Canada?
No, let's pretend not in Canada. Let's pretend in the US, where maybe it's just a touch easier.
Well, I mean, I could talk about, obviously, in Canada in general. I mean, corporate housing is amazing, but you have to love it, and you really have to put yourself in the shoes of the people that are using our suites. So obviously, everything has to make sense dollar-wise, but it has to make sense to everyone. Repeat business is the biggest compliment all of us can get. So what are you going to do to position yourself so that you can get that repeat business? And what are you going to do when there is an issue, and occasionally there may be? How are you going to react to it? Do you have the staff? Do you have the process? What's your policies? How are you going to handle it when things happen? And they do. A window breaks. It's on the 42nd floor and it's minus 35. What are you going to do? Is it in the manual? If you call other companies that, perhaps it's one guy and 4 suites and a set of keys and the guy goes on vacation, what do you do? What are you going to do when that fridge breaks down and somebody says, "I've got a baby and I've got milk"? What are you doing about it? Make sure that you're ready to look after all of these things. And if you can answer yes to all of those, then you never know. Opening up your own corporate housing, you might be ready for it. But it's not just monetary. You need to look at all the processes that go in place. Corporate housing is not just suite and furniture. It's so much more.
Wow. Lynn, Aaron saying, love your passion and enthusiasm, Michelle. I couldn't agree more. It comes through the small screen. Richard says, Lynn, Michelle, totally agree. There's accreditation in the UK for quality and tourism called Safe, Clean, and Legal. That's Richard's nickname in college, actually. So, all right, let's get down. Let's have a little fun, huh, Stacy? What do you say? Let's have a little fun. We're gonna do a little segment we call Overrated, Underrated. Okay, and all you have to answer is it overrated or underrated in your opinion? And Michelle, you up for a little game?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. And Stacey, what do we got? Conferences, overrated or underrated?
Oh, underrated. You got to be there.
Massively.
Oh my gosh.
Why do you think so?
You know what? It's, you can tell somebody when you go to a rock concert or your favorite band, what it was like, but until you're there, it's like you don't get the feeling of it. And I'm telling you, the nuggets that you get out, I think some of the best moments I've ever had at a conference, the information, the education. By the way, education, I should have touched on that. We'll go back to that after. It's important. I have made some of my biggest connections that I still have today that have brought in huge amounts of money from a moment, meeting somebody, somebody introduces me to someone else. You're in the elevator, you name it. Somebody's button popped off and you had to help a stranger sew it. I'm telling you, conferences are where you need to be. The Canadian conference normally starts it all off, but you need to be there. You need to put yourself in the middle. You don't need to know anybody. It takes about 3 seconds at the CHPA conference and you're not a stranger anymore. It is amazing. It's not cliques. It is, everybody wants to meet everybody. It's a great place. You need to be there. I
love it. I couldn't agree more. You just never know the magic. I think a lot of people get hung up in, well, what's the return on going there? Who are we going to meet? How much business are we going to get? That's such a trap. That mindset's a trap. And I would warn anybody who thinks like that, because you can never answer that question. And if you can never answer that question, does that mean you're not going to go? And you'll never know what you could have had. So I encourage everyone to go, believe in themselves, bet on themselves, and go around great people like Michelle and myself, and have a great time.
Of course.
At CHPA.
Here's the question you need to ask yourself. What are you going to lose if you don't go? What happens if that's that large client that you're going to miss, or someone that'll introduce you? And some of our clients that we've gained is because of a connection we had when someone says, do you know somebody in this city? Who do you go to? Oh, go to this person. I'm in the middle of the pandemic. It was tough up here. And in a 7-day period, I had 2 US companies that have never dealt with this before, but I've met them at the conferences and, chatted with, gave us a ton of business. And I mean, a ton. And at full rate, amazing. Wow. And if I hadn't been at the conference, and if we hadn't sat down and had that cup of coffee, you know what? And especially during the pandemic, that wasn't just another client. That was key during the time.
I love it. All right. Next one, Stacy. 3-bedroom apartments. Overrated or underrated? What are your thoughts on 3 bedrooms?
Oh, well, we exist in the downtown core. And before COVID, I would say 3 bedrooms, we didn't need a lot. And now we don't have enough. We're trying to get more. And now we've incorporated houses and townhouses into our inventory just because the world is moving. There is so much global mobility. It's not just, 30-day stays in and out. Yes, 3 bedrooms, but it's a big deal now.
They're all the rage. So overrated or underrated?
As in, you need more of them?
I have no idea. I just say the words. I don't
need more 3 bedrooms.
Yes,
3 bedrooms
underrated. We need more 3 bedrooms.
Yeah.
That means, let me ask you this question. Let me ask this in a different way. If you were building a building today, would you be building more 3 bedrooms, knowing it's going to be around, I bet, for 10, 20, 30 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Also, with the price of housing here in Toronto, I mean, it's a couple of million to buy anything. So, a 3-bedroom condo is obviously going to be expensive, but nowhere near as a house. Most people, my kids, everyone's looking at me like, how can I buy a house? It's impossible. But a 3-bedroom condo, that's a possibility.
There you go. There you go. All right, next one. Tampa, overrated or underrated?
Well, come on. I'm in Toronto and there's snow. Tampa, there's none. Are you kidding me? It's going to be great.
So underrated then, you think, Tampa?
Yeah.
I lived in Tampa for 6 years. I I also agree it's underrated. You know, people talk about Miami all the time. They talk about Orlando all the time, even Jacksonville and Tampa. People just don't talk about Tampa. And so I'm really excited to get down to Tampa this weekend, see some friends, and have a lot of fun. It's a fun city to party in. It's got good history and culture as well.
It does.
And
It does.
it's on the water. Can't beat it.
Yeah, and great beaches. I think the best sand in all of Florida is, right beside you. I mean, it's like cornstarch. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
So if someone's there for another half day or something and want to go see, the Gulf, I'm telling you, it's the best sand anywhere. It's beautiful.
Yep. 2 or 3 out of the top 10 beaches in the U.S. were actually in the Tampa Bay area. So,
I believe it.
Caladesi Island, Beer Can Island, Clearwater Beach. Yeah, some good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got next? Corporate housing portals.
Ooh,
Overrated,
now that's
underrated.
an interesting one.
I'm mixing it up. I'm giving you some softballs.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 schools of thought on that. We have a lot of business comes through portals. A lot of the portals are, do you have a 1-bedroom in this area? What price? That's it. Where my issue with portals is you don't get to know the client's needs. They're not just, they may say they have a dog or they need a crib, but you don't know anything else about the client. It's not until they get here and they're going, well, I needed a desk twice this size, or I needed 2 desks. How come there's not 2 desks? Sometimes I find with the portals, they just don't ask questions, or perhaps the right questions, or enough questions. And that's where I have the issues. Portals are great. Obviously, you send it out to everybody all at once as an aggregator, let's say, and you get your numbers back, but you're not servicing your client properly because you're not asking the right questions. And you're not doing that right fit. I can go into a mall and there's, I want to buy some shoes, but am I looking for work boots or am I looking for New Year's Eve shoes?
A shoe is
if
not
you
a
say
shoe.
I want a
You're
shoe
right.
at a certain price, but what are you looking for? What's important to you?
If you show up
You need to ask those questions.
Yeah, if you show up with work boots to a cocktail party, you're in trouble for sure.
Well,
So
they'll talk about you anyway.
So corporate housing portals, overrated, underrated?
I think
We're all
overrated.
friends here. Overrated.
Yeah,
Okay.
overrated.
Good. And I appreciate the nuance. I think it's great nuance there you just provided. So I think it's great. All right. Do we have another one, Stacey? Corporate direct relationships. Relationships directly with the corporate client. Overrated, underrated?
I love direct. And I think the reason why I like that is just going back to my previous question with the portals is, if we've all done that exercise, you whisper something in somebody's ear and they whisper it to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy. When it gets down 3 or 4 deep, you don't even recognize what it was you were asking for. And I find sometimes that's what happens. The further away you get from something, it gets diluted. So perhaps there was a nugget that was really important to that person. Maybe it wasn't so important to the person that they were chatting with. So they omitted that from the ask, and they shouldn't have. If they ask for it, it's important, even if it seems small to you. It needs to flow down because it was important enough for them to mention it. Listen. And I find the less hands you go through, it doesn't get diluted, and you can service the client better. That relationship is strong.
Overrated or underrated? Corporate direct relationships.
Oh, I think it's underrated. Everybody needs to, yeah. Nice.
Fantastic. This is fun. That was great. You did a nice job there. I think I agreed with everything you said there. Not that, hey, no wrong answers. Just saying my answers are more right than other people. So good job there. Fantastic. This has been so much fun, Michelle. I enjoyed having you on.
Awesome.
I'm so psyched about going to CHPA this weekend in Tampa.
Oh, you should be.
It's going to be seeing great. Everybody. Can't wait. We're doing 2 shows there. Hit that like button right now if you're excited. Hit that applause button if you're super stoked about going to CHPA or you can't wait to go next year. Or if you want, hit that thumbs up if you want to bring the Canadian party back. Okay.
Let us know. It's coming, guys. It's coming. But you know what? When you go down, ask everybody what last year was like and the year before. And like I said, we bring down Canadian fare. And guys, it is not what you think it is. And that's the whole thing is we're Mythbusters. We want to tell you what Canadians are really all about. And the Canadian reception starts it all off. So everything you think about Canadians, it's wrong. You got to come.
I can't wait. I'm learning so much already. I can't wait to go to a party. This is great. Christian's saying thank you, Michelle. Been have fun at CHPA for sure. Jamie's echoing the relationships built at CHPA have been invaluable over the years.
Absolutely.
Richard confirms the rumor that Safe, Clean, and Legal was his nickname in college. This is so much fun. Michelle, do you want to leave us with a final thought?
Oh, you got to be there. If at all you can get on a plane and get down to Tampa, you need to get there. I mean, it's really a short period of time. It's the education is obviously on Monday and Tuesday. Get there on Sunday. Start it off there. Really, it's that key 48 hours. You will not regret it. Your business will grow. Your knowledge will grow. But I'm telling you, it's really hard to tell you about a concert when you don't go to it. It's so invaluable. You need to be there.
I love it. I love it. Hey, George Meyer, what's up? That was awesome. That was Michelle White, president today, Living Group and board member of CHPA. And I will see her and all of you in at CHPA in Tampa next week. We'll be doing 2 shows. Also, don't forget, tomorrow we have Adam Lowy from Move for Hunger doing the annual recap, letting us know how much good we've done for Move for Hunger. So tune into that if you want to get more involved in helping ease food insecurity. I can't wait to see all of you tomorrow for that. Michelle, thank you so much for being here today. It was wonderful.
Ben, thank you so much. It's been great. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. We will see you tomorrow.